In this lesson, I wanted to discuss some of the formalities involving stances and moving between stances that I didn't go over previously. Let's say that you happen to be in a walking stance and the instructor calls a kicking stance. From here, you're going to bring your front leg in and out and do a double O block and key up. So from walking stance, the instructor says kicking stance 준비. That's how you would move into kicking stance. Let's say you're in ready stance. So you're here. And the instructor says walking stance 준비. So moving into walking stance. From there, you're going to move your right leg back and you're going to perform a low block and key up. So from here, walking stance 준비. That would be how you move back into a walking stance. But let's say you happen to be in ready stance and the instructor calls out kicking stance 준비. So from here, again, same thing. You're going to move your right leg back and you're going to perform a double low block to move into kicking stance. So from here, kicking stance 준비. That moves you into kicking stance. Same thing with L stance. If you're going to move into an L stance, from 준비 stance, L stance 준비. You're going to step back, right leg back, always right leg steps back, and reverse low block. So remember, same hand, same foot. Now, if you happen to be in, let's say, a walking stance, and the next technique that you're going to be performing is an L stance technique. So let's say I just did walking stance, low block. Now the next movement is going to be L stance, reverse middle punch. So from here, when I step forward, all I'm going to do is just make the transition into L stance. It's just seamless. So from walking stance, right, I just performed walking stance, low block. The next movement is L stance, reverse middle punch. And there it is. L stance, reverse middle punch. Simply move into the next stance. And lastly, we have the side sitting stance. So if you happen to be in 준비 stance, and you're going to move into a side sitting stance, then side sitting stance 준비. Right leg back, double low block. There is side sitting stance. Or we have the front facing regular sitting stance, and same thing applies here, except we're going to step out with the left leg. So sitting stance 준비, and we usually do it with a middle punch. So sitting stance, middle punch 준비. Right, this is moving into a front facing sitting stance from 준비. So those are some of the formalities as we move between different stances in Taekwondo. I know I didn't go over them in previous videos, so I wanted to cover that in this lesson here. But again, whatever stance you happen to be in, if I'm in a walking stance and the next movement is sitting stance, knife hand side strike, then I'm going to step forward and go directly into the sitting stance and perform the technique. But if you're in a ready stance, and I'll show it from the side, if you're in a ready stance to begin with, walking stance 준비, step back, right leg, perform a low block. If you're in ready stance and you need to get into kicking stance, step back with your right leg, double low block. If you're in ready stance and you need to get into L stance, step back with the right leg, reverse low block. And if you're in ready stance and you need to get into a side sitting stance, step back, double block. And then of course, front facing stance. We usually use that when we're practicing our middle punch exercises. We practice level 1 white belt. We practice some of the fundamental blocks in that stance without movement, just to get students accustomed to the fundamentals, the foundations, without confusing them with the stepping at that level. So just getting them used to the very basic blocks. But that is how you move into the different stances in Taekwondo. Okay? So, till next lesson.